markets continue the winning streak for the fourth consecutive day. Key indices jump 1.5% on an all-round rally. Banking and metals march ahead. For the week, the Nifty is up close to 5% to become Asia's best-performing index. Well, a breather for Unitech boss Sanjay Chandra. The CBI inquiry into a telephone conversation between his former counsel A.K. Singh and Chandra finds no criminality. In a report submitted to the Supreme Court, the investigating agency says the conversation had no impact on the 2G case. The slowdown worries haunt Maruti again. India's largest car maker stops production of petrol cars in its Gurgaon plant on Saturday. As inventories pile up, the stock takes a beating as the company's management warns of further production cuts. Well, the government is committed to get back the growth cycle. Now, the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh says the government will use all policy tools necessary to achieve that 9% growth. Good afternoon to you and welcome to ET Now. This is Business Day. I'm Faye D'Souza. Let's get straight to our main story, and that's the Lal Street. Ended the week with a stellar rally. The Nifty ended firmly above the 5,900 mark. The Sensex rallies over 250 points. Now, banks led that rally with the Bank Nifty scaling above the 12,000 mark. My colleague Megha Chadda joins us with details of all of the trading action today. Megha.
It was a great day for the markets. In fact, we started on a firm footing and ended almost at the highest point of the day. In fact, for the Nifty, we briefly crossed that 59.50 mark as well and ended just about shade shy of that at 59.45. Remember, it was the fourth day of grain coming in for the Nifty at this point in time, and over the last 5 days, we've added on close to 3.8%. For a change, however, remember there was the frontliners and the benchmarks that outperformed the broader markets. So with the last 5 days as well, remember that we've had an IDFC, Goa, that have been amongst the biggest movers on the Nifty, adding on between 8 to 9%. HUL and Ambuja Cements have been the biggest losers. For the day, however, it was the metals pack, the financials and the energy names that outperformed, and IT looked a bit weak. So a JSPL, IDFC and HDFC dominated the gaining side. We had a Wipro and Infosys as well as an Ambuja Cement that actually were looking a bit wobbly. In the broader markets, and Amtech Auto, Godrej Consumer actually showed some very smart moves, and if you look at the energy pack, that was also very buoyant. So we had a BPCL, Gas Authority of India and a CAIRN India, where we saw BNP cutting the long-term target for the company that also gained close to 2.5%. Remember, through the day we also had a Goldman Sachs that's reiterated the Nifty target of 7,000 levels, so that also had its bit in contributing to the up move that we saw in today's trading session.
At over 250 points on the Sensex. Good way to end the week. Now, giving us his overview on the markets and the macroeconomic situation in the country, Bharat Iyer of JP Morgan said the markets had expected the budget to deliver more for corporates. He also said the macro picture and the growth situation of the country looks challenging and the street is underestimating the slowdown. Listen in.
The budget is for the people of India at large and for the economy. And, it can't necessarily focus over the short term on either the corporate sector or the equity markets. So I guess, the government has a different agenda, and the markets perhaps went in with very high expectations, expecting the markets to be the focus of the budget. And that did not happen. The central bank has been saying for some time now that, growth is going meaningfully below the potential trend level. And I think we're getting some joy on the inflation side also. So all this does imply that, there is scope for cutting. The 25 basis point rate cut on March 19th is very much priced in at this point in time. It's very much part of the expectation subset of investors. There is no denying the fact that, both the deficits are very, very stretched. We don't need them at these levels. Growth is seriously challenged. I think the street is underestimating the extent of the growth slowdown. So it's not a very good combination to have at this point.
All right, let's also get a sense of how the F&O activity is shaped up today. We have Darshan Mehta from our research desk standing by. Good evening, Darshan. Nice to end the week on a positive note, but take us through what happened in the F&O market today.
Well, good evening, Faye. Clearly, it's a big rally that happened on the Nifty. We just ended short of the 6,000 mark, so 59.65 is where we ended. That's a premium of close to almost 20 points, and the Nifty futures added in close to almost 4 lakh shares in open interest. But clearly, if you see where the call writing and put writing is happening, you can make out that a severe amount of rally left in the market, because on the put side, severe amount of put writing happening. 5,700, that one got crossed long time ago, so 3 lakh shares. 5,800, 13 lakh shares. 5,900, almost 27 lakh shares, and the 6,000, which has not yet been breached, has added in close to 13 lakh shares. And even if you take the total open interest on the 5,700 and the 5,800 level, the total open interest is close to 1 crore shares, so clearly indicating that there is a bullish trend on the market. On the call side and on the higher side, where there's resistance is seen at levels of as high as 6,200. So another 150 point rally is something that the market can expect on the FNOQs. Price gainers, you had JSPL, Adani Power, IDFC and HDFC. All these counters gaining significantly in trade. On the low end, you had counters like a McLeod Russell, which fell. Oracle Finance, which had gained significantly the day before yesterday, had actually given in trade today. GSPL and Financial Technologies, FT, on the basis of the bad news for MCX of not getting any buyers for the block deal, that fell in trade. Open interest gainers, PFC open interest up 20%, fresh shorts were seen. Fresh longs were seen on Yes Bank, open interest up 12%, and Maruti post the news of, the one-day production cut, that saw fresh shorts, open interest was up 12%.
All right, Darshan, many thanks for bringing us those details. Darshan there from our research desk, helping us out with the F&O market. Well, in other breaking news, the 2G Special Court judge today pulled up the CBI for not naming officials of any telcos in their charge sheet against Bharti and Vodafone. Now, staying with the CBI, the investigating agency has decided to end their inquiry into the leaked tape conversation between AK Singh and Sanjay Chandra. Suchetna Ray joins us with exclusive details of those stories. Suchetna, let's first talk about that leaked tape. Why has the CBI planned to close its inquiry into the leaked tape controversy? Can you take us through what's going on right now?
Faye, this is going to be a very positive news for both Unitech and its MD Sanjay Chandra. Sources in CBI tell us that they have closed the inquiry. They have not found any criminality against AK Singh, who is the former CBI prosecutor and who was caught leaking prosecution details to Unitech Sanjay Chandra. The reason why there is no criminality that can be proved, sources tell us from CBI, is because the conversation that has taken place has had no bearing on the prosecution so far. So therefore, there is no reason why they should keep the inquiry on and on. Also, CBI believes that the case should be closed here. There is no need for an FIR to be filed. Sources in CBI tell us that this update has been sent to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is likely to take up the matter on Monday, and it is on Supreme Court now to decide the future course of action, whether to close the case here or CBI should go ahead and reinvestigate the matter.
Well, let's also talk about the other story you brought us this evening, the 2G Special Court judge who's pulled up the CBI. How does this impact Bharti and Vodafone and the case against these two companies?
Faye, while the previous news was a positive for Unitech, this could be a setback and a major setback for both Bharti and Vodafone. The 2G Special Court judge today pulled up CBI, questioned them why no officials from the telecom companies have been named. He went on to say that it actually takes two parties to enter into a conspiracy. So while the charge sheet has named former DOT Secretary Shamal Ghosh, no officials from both Bharti or Vodafone has been named, and that is why he has now adjourned the matter to the 19th of March, when the judge O.P. Saini of the 2G Special Court will take the final call. Remember, we're talking about the charge sheet that was filed in December last year by CBI, naming Bharti and Vodafone in a matter of excess spectrum hoarding during Pramod Mahajan's time. The CBI prosecutor today also clarified that no official can be named simply because the minister then, Pramod Mahajan, is now dead, and it's difficult to ascertain who exactly entered into a criminal collusion with the minister at that point in time. But we've also to remember that the judge does have the power to not accept the charge sheet, send it back to CBI for reinvestigation, but we'll have to wait for the 19th of March to see exactly what happens.
All right, Suchetna, many thanks for bringing us that story. Suchetna Ray there, bringing us the story before anybody else, exclusive on ET Now. Well, more good news for our stock market. Goldman Sachs remains overweight on Indian equities with a 12-month target of 7,000 on the NIFTY. Goldman says macroeconomic indicators suggest that growth has bottomed out and the macro cycle is turning. It sees India as the third least expensive market in the Asia-Pacific region. Goldman Sachs says the RBI rate cut on March 19, firmer industrial output data due next week, may give confidence to that growth cycle that is turning. In other news, the RCF stock perked up for the 52-week low after the state-owned firm's offer for sale commenced at a floor price of 45 rupees a share. The government is looking to garner around 300 crore rupees by selling close to 7 crore shares. Navneet has more details. Navneet.
Well, good news is that the issue got fully subscribed, in fact slightly oversubscribed. It received bids of about 7.94 crore shares versus 6.89 crore shares which were on offer, and the indicated price which has come on the exchanges as of now is about 45.02, which is as much as the floor price which was set by the government of about 45 rupees per share. Remember, the floor price was at a premium of about 2.7% versus yesterday's closing when the stock hit its 52-week low. The government would be garnering about 310 crore at 45 rupees from this issue. And remember, the government held about 92.5% stake in the company, where it has diluted about 12.5% stake. Now it holds about only 80%. There were talks in the market that the government would be reserving about 25% of the offer for the institutions. Well, we still have to wait and watch for the data as to which all institutions participated in today's issue. Nevertheless, if you look at the stock, that was up over 3% in today's trading session, whereas if you look at the weekly return of RCF, that stock is down by about 7%.
All right, Navneet, thank you so much for those details. Moving on to other news, the Prime Minister is confident the economy can achieve 8% growth once again. Speaking at Rajya Sabha, Manmohan Singh said he expects the economy to bounce back and that the government is committed to implement all reforms that will boost growth.
Our country needs a growth rate of 8 to 9% if we are to get rid of chronic poverty and large-scale unemployment of our youth. Our country needs economic reform to realize its full developmental potential. We have every intention to use all policy instruments to push up the growth rate, and it is our expectation that in the next 2 or 3 years, the economy can once again bounce back to a growth rate of 7 to 8%.
But we're not done yet. We have another ET Now exclusive for you. The Maruti stock crashed on reports that the automaker will suspend production of petrol cars in its Gurgaon plant as inventories pile up at the dealer's end. Now, Sumit Chaturvedi joins us with more details. Sumit, you're on site right now. What's exactly going on at that Gurgaon factory? Can you take us through any more details that you were getting?
Well, this Gurgaon factory of Maruti produces 3,000 to 4,000 cars every day. Well, this is specialized in manufacturing of petrol cars, and there is no demand for petrol cars in the market. And that is why Maruti has now decided to suspend production of petrol cars at this Gurgaon plant tomorrow. Company sources are telling us that company may think of suspending production further in the coming few months if the slump continues. So that is the news currently at this moment. Well, also not only petrol cars, the diesel cars are also facing the heat of slowdown, and that is why company is thinking of many ways to rationalize inventory. But there is a very good demand there as well. So there is no chance that company will suspend production of diesel cars. But as far as petrol cars are concerned, company is going to stop production of petrol cars for 1 day. Well, this Gurgaon plant manufactures popular cars of Maruti, the popular petrol cars of Maruti, including Alto, Wagoner, A-Star and Estilo. So this is going to be stopped the production tomorrow, and that is the news coming at this moment.
All right, Smith, many thanks for bringing us that exclusive story. Let's get straight back to the news. CAIRN India gains in trade today as CLSA reiterates its bullish stance on the company, pegging its target on that stock at 425 rupees a share. What else were they highlighting in their latest report? Ajay Sharma joins us with an update. Ajay, take us through that report that came out today.
Well, that's correct. CAIRN India rose quite sharply in trade, especially in the second half of trade. There was a case made by CLSA regarding the bullish calls on buy case target at 425. But they also suggested that CAIRN India should consider buying out CAIRN PLC, which is a market cap of around $2.6 billion. CAIRN India is already sitting on around a very large pile of cash. That will help CAIRN India to solve a lot of problems. One of them being the strategic know-how in the area of exploration, which CAIRN PLC, the parent company, does have. The overhang of additional shares hitting the market would also get lifted by this. 10% is what CAIRN PLC still holds and can actually sell in the open market in CAIRN India. It has been a constant overhang as far as CAIRN India stock is concerned, and also there is a fear in the market that the production decline in the Rajasthan fields will be able to hit the earnings of CAIRN India sharply. So in this way, if CAIRN India acquires CAIRN PLC, they will be able to make up for production loss here via the other exploration assets which CAIRN PLC holds around the world. So this is an interesting case which CLSA has made. Of course, we have to see whether any such development happens or not.
All right, Ajay, thank you so much for those details. On to another ET Now exclusive. The race for RBS's assets in India intensifies. ET Now learns that some new players have joined the race after talks with HSBC fell through earlier. Avan Divash joins us with a timeline of the deal. Avan.
Well, in terms of a timeline, we understand that the bid process could commence halfway through the year, and it's all likely to be wrapped up by the end of this year itself. Now, according to this deal, sources are indicating that we have a slew of banks who are in the race to pick up RBS's commercial and retail banking portfolio in India. Names like IndusInd Bank, Yes Bank, SBI, HDFC Bank, ANZ are in the race. In addition to that, there are also some of the other interested players like Kotak Mahindra Bank, ING Vaisya Bank, Ratnakar Bank and Standard Chartered. RBS will retain around 8 of the 31 branches in India, and this dates way back to 2010 when HSBC was in the fray for the same, but that deal was called off. We tried to get in touch with the management, but they denied to comment, but that's the news that we have. Quite a few banks in the race for the commercial and retail banking portfolio.
Thanks, Savannah. Staying with banking, in a development which would be a huge sigh of relief for ICICI Bank, the Federal Court of Australia has refused Perdaman's request to sue the private sector lender and make it a party in the case between Lanco and Perdaman. In the latest ruling, the court has said the bank has no obligations to Perdaman, nor was it bargaining or negotiating with Perdaman, hence it cannot be made a party in the case. In January, Australia-based Perdaman Chemicals had filed a lawsuit against ICICI Bank, claiming the Indian bank restrained Griffin Coal from supplying coal to its upcoming urea plant in Western Australia. Now, on Women's Day, Finance Minister P. Chidambaram kept his promise, as proposed in the budget, to set up a bank dedicated solely for boosting women's financial empowerment. He said a committee has been constituted to prepare a blueprint for the proposed Women's Bank. It will be headed by M.B.N. Rao.
We have constituted a committee to prepare a blueprint for the proposed Women's Bank. It will be chaired by Shri M.B.N. Rao, former CMD of Canara Bank. The other members will be Shri M.D. Malia, former CMD Bank of Baroda, Ms. Jayashri Vyas, MD of Seva, Mrs. Arundhati Bhattacharya, MD and CEO of SBI Caps, Mrs. Usha Ananthasubramaniam, Executive Director of PNB, and Dr. K. Ramakrishnan, Chief Executive of Indian Banks Association.
Heartening to know there were 3 women on that committee as well. Well, moving on to an interesting story this evening. They're packing their bags at the campus of IIM Bangalore and they're headed for the office of India's richest man. Meet Pranay Jain and Surbhi Garg, 23-year-old management graduates hired this week as executive assistants by Reliance Industries. In a chat with ET Now's Chandra R. Shrikant, they talk about what their advice for Mukesh Ambani would be in their capacity as executive assistants.
This is one role which is not available all the time. This is just one time. There is only one team which will work with Mr. Ambani. So this was superb. It's very exciting, and I'm just looking forward to it.
Words cannot describe the feeling actually. It's like years of hard work has finally paid off. Right. And in terms of the interview process, was it a very tough session? What sort of questions did they ask?
The idea behind the entire process was actually trying to gauge a culture fit. Trying to see, because we are both of us are 23, we haven't worked before. Direct from undergraduate college, we come to IIM Bangalore. So the idea was just to see if there's a culture fit, if we can take the aggression that is required to be a part of this team and the passion that is needed.
Questions revolved around personal fit, gauging your knowledge, how much do you know and what insights do you have, and what contributions as an individual can you make to the entire team. Have you guys been given a sense of what role you're likely to play going forward? A bit of a description on that? Okay, so as we've told earlier, it's an internal role, kind of strategy consulting to the chairman and senior team. So it would revolve around identifying future business opportunities and where do we see the firm growing, building capabilities, etc.
All right, so that's a wrap on this show. Coming up after the break, more news and updates on ET Now. Don't go anywhere.